It's your boy Jay Corbett of Team Sanctum. We're back at it again with another deck profile, and today we're here with my buddy Connor. How you doing today, man?
I'm alright, Jay.
That's good. So what deck you have with us today?
I have UAs.
Isn't that like circa like what 2009, 2010 or something?
That's a little too far.
No,
That's a little too far.
Circa 2013.
Like this was what came out with BA. This was the Kaiju to BA's Cosmo.
Ah, fair. All right. So what makes this deck really good?
What makes this deck good?
If you're wondering, no, this is not a fake laugh. This is legit. This is legit him laughing right now.
Let's
just get to the deck profile. So
let's just get on with the profile.
yeah, let's
man.
get on with the profile, man.
So
let's just see this.
So I'm gonna do this. This profile is gonna be a little different from the ones we usually do because I'm gonna do it backwards, just kind of to illustrate a point about UAs. So for the extra deck, I have one card, MX Saber Invoker. You should know what it does. It's been seen on the competitive scene a lot. Has one main function, and it does it well.
Get out wrap here.
Yeah, exactly. Onto the trap lineup. I run 3 of the UA's 1 trap card, UA penalty box. As a trap card, it's not too bad. When a UA battles another monster, you can banish that monster until your opponent's second end phase. That's not too bad. However, what's more powerful is its engrave effect. You can banish it to search any UA spell. So that's actually pretty good for the deck. As I said, that's UA's only trap, and that's the only trap I run in the deck. So, on to spells. Reinforcement of the Army at 1 because you can only have 1. Wish it was still at 3 for this deck, but, you know.
No.
Yes. 1 Stormforth for reasons that you'll see as we go on. 1 MST just because, honestly. Raigeki, because I try to put that in most of my decks. Single Terraforming for the UA field spell. Now, 2 ofs. I run 2 UA powered Jersey. This has been described as possibly the most busted equipped spell in the game. It gives a UA monster 1,000 attack and defense. If it attacks a monster, the battle damage dealt is doubled. And if it destroys a monster, it can attack again. The only cost is that during the standby phase, if it's still equipped to a monster, that monster is banished. However, if the monster equipped to it goes to the hand and this falls back into the graveyard, you get to add it back to your hand. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why such a weird condition? Well, you'll see when we get to the monsters. I run 2 Twin Twisters, more or less the same reason I run MST, just better. 3 ofs. I run UA Stadium. When a UA monster is normal summoned, I can search a monster, a UA monster, and when the first time a UA is special summoned, every monster I control gains 500 attack. That's pretty good. And the final spell is UA Signing Deal. This summons any UA monster from the deck, but its effects are negated. It can't be used for Synchro or Xyz material, and you lose life points equal to the monster's level times 300. It's a bit of a price, but you gotta pay that salary. On to the monsters. I run 1 Max C. That's because the way I play this deck, I want to go second as much as possible, and so having Max C in the main isn't terrible.
Okay, but who runs Max C?
I run 3 Ghost Ogres. Again, going second, it's helpful to have a Ghost Ogre readily available. Final...
Let me show you move this up right here.
Final non-archetype monster is Galaxy Worm. This is my rank 3 engine, basically, to get out MX Saber Invoker if I need it. If you aren't familiar with Galaxy Worm, it is a pretty new card. When it's normal summoned while you control no other monsters, you are able to special summon out another level 3 or lower Galaxy monster, such as Galaxy Worm, and its effects are negated. So that's a pretty easy MX Saber Invoker. On the archetype monsters, UA Playmaker, run 1. It's a level 8, 2600 beater, and this is where I'll tell you, if you don't already know, the UA's main gimmick. If you control another UA monster, you can bounce it back to the hand to special summon another UA from your hand once per turn. Specifically, this effect applies to all UAs, and the idea is basically to set up your offense in your main phase 1, deal some damage, break the board down a little bit, and then swap out for your defensive line in your main phase 2. Playmaker's got 2600 attack, and if another UA monster attacks, he loses 800. He can lose 800 attack to give that monster 800 attack. He's pretty cool, but I only run him at 1 because he's not necessarily the most useful one on his own. This is one of the examples of the defensive UAs. 2700 defense, pretty good for stalling, and once per turn, when your opponent special summons a monster, you can target that monster, put it in, well, change its battle position and negate its effects, which isn't too bad. I run 2 UA Dreadnought Dunker because he works pretty well with Jersey. When he battles, he does piercing, and if he does damage to the opponent, you can target a card on the field and destroy it, which is pretty good. I run 2 Rival Rebounder. If he's tribute summoned or he's special summoned on the opponent's turn, you can special summon a UA from your hand or your graveyard. He used to be ran at 3 a lot. I personally prefer him at 2 just because he's kind of like in a weird space between offensive and defensive. He's not always the most helpful one to see in your hand immediately. I just like him better at 2. I run 1 UA Goalkeeper, 2800 defense, very good, and once per turn, during either player's turn. Is it during their player's turn? Oh no, just during your opponent's turn. He can target a UA monster you control and make it unable to be destroyed by battle or card effects once that turn. It's not the best protection effect, but it's okay, and again, he's got that 2800 defense, so he's a good defensive line. I run 3 Perfect Ace, one of the first UAs to come out, because it's one of the better defensive ones, because despite only having 2500 defense, which isn't something you should shake a stick at, it does have the effect to discard a card during your opponent's turn, negate an effect, and destroy it, essentially being like a Cyber Dragon Infinity. I run his counterpart, Mighty Slugger, at 2, mainly because I only own 2. It's the only UA I can't find a 3rd copy of anywhere for a decent price. And he is basically an Ancient Gear or an Armades when he attacks. So if you're afraid of your opponent's back row and think they're running something, he's a pretty good option to bring out. The final UA monster is UA Midfielder. He's 1200 attack, 1000, level 4 Earth Warrior, and absolutely necessary for the deck. He is the only UA monster that you can normal summon without having to tribute. Therefore, unless you're able to get Signing Deal or Stormforth really lucky, he is the one that you want to get to your hand the most. I've had people tell me your deck has too much search power. It doesn't. People have compared this deck to Spirals because it revolves around a single level 4 Earth Warrior. In a way it's similar, except Spirals actually supports that monster, whereas UAs just kind of have this. So that's why I rely on Rhoda, Invoker, Signing Deal, and any way I can to get him out. All in all, the deck is pretty fun. You can win. You probably won't, but it's still like pretty fun. Most of the people I've dueled, like even if it's meta, like we still have a good time, and we'll like our faces will hurt because we're laughing so hard the whole duel.
That's fair. Well, Connor, thank you again for giving us this deck profile on UAs, man. Much appreciated. And as always, like, comment, subscribe.
You're not gonna give me shout-outs?
I mean, do you have a shout-out, man?
Bro,
You ask any random person, you got shout-outs. Jossie shouted out to the vending machine behind me, and you ask me if I've got shout-outs. This is heinous. This is heinous, Jay.
You got some shout-outs.
Yeah, I do.
All right, then go ahead and do the shout-outs.
Trey Johnson and Tommy Robinson, the 2 people I know who appreciate UAs as much as I do. Shout out to those two. Shout out to ZZ for making a video saying that UA's motto is I played sports in high school. Shout out again to Trey and Tommy, because those two know that's not the motto. The motto is see that guy, I almost won. I almost beat it with UAs. Shout out to Jossie, he supported me. Shout out to Mitch, he gave me some cards and some tips. Yeah, show them, show their
Right
beautifulness
here.
right there. And shout out to Jay for filming this video, even if he did offend me so.
I apologize for offending you. But you know what's not offending or whatever?
What?
Checking out our Patreon. Checking out our Patreon. So go and check in the description below. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to TV Sector for more content. It's your boy Jay Corbett signing out.